Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of G-Dub's Point of View. I am your host G-Dub. We are here for day 12 of the G1, which is of course the 6th night of B block action, and this kind of is starting to solidify the B block as far as who can advance out of it. Overall, it was a great card. Really, every match was pretty good, and the B block is just so much better this year, and it's kind of unfair. These guys have just all put on a show, and really the only talking points of like the A block are the young guys getting their chance and the Okada story. But other than that, there's not a whole lot of interesting stuff in the A block as opposed to the B block with all of the champions, who beats who for title shots, Kenny going undefeated going into tonight. It was just the storylines are so much better in this side that and all the guys are performing up to a pretty high standard. Or at least 9 of them are, that it's just entertaining all the way through. I didn't watch any of the tag matches tonight. I didn't find any of them interesting, except for obviously the Okada-Suzuki one, but I'd much rather see their singles match than just watch their tag match. The first match of the night for tournament action, though, was Ishii against Tama Tonga. I thought the match was pretty good. Definitely, this is definitely Tama's best match of the tournament so far. Ishii has just been a hoss all tournament, which like he is every G1. He's just phenomenal. They had a really fast signature move start where they kept trying to go, like Tama went for the gun stun early, and then Ishii went for the sliding lariat pretty early, so I thought that was a fun start. Match kind of just continues, kind of just pretty basic stuff, basic interference spots, and Ishii of course is taunting. He wants to beat up Loa the whole time, but it kind of backfires on him. But he gets to play like his kind of hard ass self, where he just won't go down, just constantly wants to get hit, and he's phenomenal in that role. Him being the underdog, hard ass baby face, is just, he's so good at it, and he showed it in this match. And I think that helped with Tama allowing him to play a lot bigger heel than maybe he even sometimes has to. He could really play into it, so I think that kind of helped the dynamic a bit. Of course, Loa at one point gets dragged in, and I think it's while the ref's down, he gets dragged in and just gets whopped by Ishii, which is just great, because usually all these matches he just kind of gets away with everything, or people don't actively seek him out to beat him up, so it's kind of nice for a good change. They had some really good weapon spots. Of course, Tama going for the big swing, and then Ishii, the seat breaks, and Ishii grabs a chair while the ref's down and starts swinging at Tama about it. And then, of course, the finish comes down, and Foley comes out, hits a grenade, and throws Tama on top of Ishii for the pin. At least I think or maybe it was a grenade into a gun stun, and then Tama gets the pin. Of course, both guys at this point are eliminated from the tournament. They're at 4 points. It's just, because Kenny's at 10, and he holds the tiebreaker. Actually, he holds the tiebreaker over Tama, but Ishii and him still at the face-off. But it's just, unlikely at that point. So yeah, but overall, this is definitely Tama's best match of the tournament. Still a really fun match with some different spots that helped out the match stand out from the other matches that both these guys have had. Of course, the second match was Juice against Sonata. I really liked the dynamic of these two. I thought the match was really good. They had a good chain opening, which they were able to kind of show a different, or Juice. I think they actually had really good smooth chemistry together in the chain wrestling department. And then they did double drop kick spot and backed up, like kind of reassessing their situations. They had really good outside sequences between the constant counter dives and the like Sonata doing the skull end stuff on the outside and Juice going for stuff. It was really well done. I thought it was great. I really like the sequences in the ring, actually, of Sonata had on like a arm lock where it's almost like a figure four on Juice's bad arm. And they constantly had like kind of Juice would try to roll out of it, and Sonata would roll back into carry the momentum and roll back into the submission. And I thought they were really good. Of course, that's the focus of everyone on Juice is his hand, but I thought this was a unique way to go about it. At one point, Juice goes for the skull end and actually locks it in, and then gets up and goes for a moonsault. It was a pretty good moonsault because Juice isn't known for doing moonsaults. It was pretty good. It had a good arc on it. But I thought that was really fun to go for his moves. You don't actually see that a lot of guys going for the other signature moves, so I thought that was a fun spot. Of course, the skull end's pretty simple move to lock in, but go for the moonsault and miss in, and then Sonata tries to go for one. I think it gets blocked, and then eventually it comes down to Juice taking off the cast on his left hand and hitting a big left punch into Sonata and hitting the pulp friction, and he gets a win, which is a huge win for Juice. Of course, he's eliminated at this point because he has lost to Kenny, and so at this point the max he can get is 10 points, and Kenny has the tiebreaker, so he's eliminated. But I think he was eliminated when he lost the first 4 matches, basically. But he's on a two match winning streak, which is great. Sonata's at 3-3, so he's at 6 points. I think he has a chance at this point. Of course, action later on depends on whether or not he's still in it, but at this point I think he still has a chance. But overall, the match was really good. I really enjoyed it. These guys work well together, and I thought they had some unique sequences that you haven't really seen all tournament from anybody. Of course, the third match was Yano versus Naito. I thought it was actually pretty funny. Naito's being the normal tranquilo self, and Yano's being real antsy and like wanting to get the match started. And then once the match starts, he doesn't really want to actually wrestle. But this was just if you want to watch like a true comedy match for Yano, this is the one to watch. The match was just hilarious. Just constant different taunt spots, and then Yano would come in and do something funny, and then they were doing some stuff on the outside, like where Naito taped up Yano to the barricade, and then there was it got down to like a 15 count, and Yano just breaks the barricade off and runs with the barricade into the ring, and then eventually Naito drop kicks him, which breaks the tape. The match was just, the entire match was just littered with comedy, and it was great. Every comedy spot I laughed at. It was a pretty simple match, though. There wasn't anything too crazy as far as like bumps or spots, and it was kind of, at least for Naito, it was definitely kind of a rest day for him, because I think he's got a pretty intense upcoming schedule. I think he has Ibushi, Sonata, and like Zack, I think. Which is, that's nuts. So it was kind of nice that he got a little break. 8-minute match, hits Destino, no big deal. Yano actually got quite a bit of offense in, which was pretty fun to see. But of course, Naito finished with Destino, wins. It's a good win for him. It's a really fun match. Of course, Yano's been eliminated for a while, but Naito's at 10 points. He's tied now with Kenny before Kenny's match goes on, but Kenny does have the tiebreaker over him, so he needs some help as far as trying to get into the final. But he's definitely positioned well. But yeah, it was a really fun match. Because I know the Yano Kenny match will probably be really good comedy, but if you want to watch another Yano actual comedy match with another fan favorite, this is a really good one to watch. Of course, the semifinal match was Kenny versus Zack Sabre Jr. This was a great match. I thought it was just really well done. I liked the opening. It was really different, especially for a Kenny Omega match. They did like a British catch style opening where they're doing the rolling around on the mat and trying to get different holds and constant rolling and really like a catch as catch can style, which is something that Kenny does not do, but clearly showed he has some kind of prowess for it. Or he has some kind of ability for it, and of course that's Zack's thing. But But it was really nice to see this different side of Kenny because, you see him, he does the high impact moves, he sells pretty crazily sometimes, but he does the big high impact moves, high flying, all this complete package. But as far as the catch style, he doesn't really do that. So to see that as the opening was a nice taste of the fact that, no, he does have that down. That's why he's probably such a really good wrestler. He does have this a little bit of background in it. I was really happy that there was finally some focus on Kenny's injured heel. The commentator's been playing it up the whole time since Kenny announced it on the YouTube show, that he's got this hurt heel and everything, and no one's even attempted to put any submissions on it. And finally, of course, Zach knew about it and said it in his interview before the match, on during the tag, after the tag match, that he knew about it. And so he had some crazy submissions. He put in a ton of heel hooks. But there's at one point he locks in a heel hook armbar and triangle, and Kenny's left arm or I think it was his left arm and leg are just kind of hanging out, and then everything else is pinned up, including his head is pinned up against Zach's body. I thought it was a really cool submission. Of course, there's great reversals throughout. This was kind of a reversal clinic. I know I said that for another match in this tournament, but this was another example of constant reversal clinics, but even early, of Kenny going for a leapfrog off a basic, Irish whip sequence, and Zach running underneath and grabbing the ankle, going for an ankle lock. Just even stuff like that. It was just reversals throughout the whole deal. There was one reversal in particular that I loved, which I hadn't seen before, where Zach seated, and Kenny goes for, I think it's a walking V-trigger. It might have been a little tiny run, but it was more of a walking V-trigger. And as soon as he hits it, or is about to hit it, Zach kind of rolls back, and so he catches the leg, and rolls through and hooks in a single leg Boston Crab. I thought it was just phenomenally well done. I hadn't seen anything like that before. It was just really good. There was some really good counters throughout, but that one stood out to me because it was really basic, but something you just don't see, and I haven't seen before, especially in a match with Kenny. Of course, the finish comes down where Kenny gets a roll-up, gets a 2 count. Zach tries to get some kind of submission locked in off the kick out, and then Kenny rolls it through for a full crucifix pin roll-up and gets the 3 count. Which I enjoyed because it was nice and different. The whole match was kind of a masterclass of both of them showing their style, and really a testament to Kenny as to he can wrestle this different style. Of course, there's one spot in particular that, of course, Kenny has to do the high flying stuff where he does if you've seen the Wrestle Kingdom 11 match with Okada, he does the springboard twisting. He springs up onto the top rope and twists midair, so he lands backwards and then does the moonsault. He did that off of a guardrail in this match, which is that's a ton of movement in such a small space, but it was extremely well executed. But other than that, he really was going for the mat work and the ground submissions, and really working a Zack Sabre Jr. style, and it was really different. And so to have a finish that was really different than just a normal one-winged angel finish, and he didn't overkill the V-trigger as he can do sometimes. He hit 2 or 3, and that was kind of it. But the match was really good. It was phenomenal. I've been looking for this match ever since I'd seen the blocks, and it definitely lived up to what I thought it could be. So definitely a high recommendation to check it out. And then, of course, we get to the main event, which is Kota Ibushi against Hiroki Goto. Another great match. Both these guys are just having phenomenal tournaments. It's just impressive. Of course, it's a pretty standard opening. They do some chain stuff. They do some, it's kind of just a standard wrestling match opening. Of course, there's huge cheers for Ibushi because it's his hometown, which you can even tell in the intro a little bit. Not speaking any Japanese, the announcer said a name in the middle of the intro, and you got a big cheer from the crowd, which, of course, if you listen to any American wrestling, it's, from such and such, and if they're in that town, it's a big cheer from the crowd. So I could tell, I'm like, oh, okay, it's his hometown. So, of course, he had big cheers, and he was a big favorite. But yeah, I actually thought this match was pretty decently slow to start, but it wasn't slow like it took away from the match. It was like, they purposely made the match slower, which I didn't mind, especially because Ibushi has been going just balls to the wall, bell to bell since the tournament started. I thought it was kind of nice for him to show a different pacing side to him. Of course, throughout they have good strike trades. That's kind of both of their things. Is being able to just pound each other, and it's just another well executed match. Of course, they have beautiful lariat sequences because both these guys just throw amazing lariats. So just going for lariats against each other, and when they finally connect, and both of them are just selling like crazy. Just extremely well done. And then eventually, Ibushi hits a straitjacket suplex. Goto kicks out, and he turns it around, hits the Kamigoye with the knee pad down for the big win. It was a great. The finish was really well done. The crowd was hot for it. The last couple minutes are really good. And it was and it was a hometown win for Ibushi. Of course, Sonata beat him in Sonata's hometown the other night, so Ibushi gets his hometown win. And it was a really good win for him. Of course, I believe, Goto's now eliminated from the tournament. But overall, the match was really good. Definitely the last two matches are really high points for the night. The third match with Naito and Yano was it was a really fun comedy match. And I'm looking forward to the Yano-Kenny match because their match last year was just fantastic. So I'm looking forward to a repeat of that this year. But yeah, that's it for the action tonight. Of course, point standings wise, I believe now there's only 3 people left in contention for winning the block, which is Kenny, Naito, and Ibushi. I'm very interested to see where this goes. I think that was what it came down to. Was they had those 5 guys left in A block, and now it's just down to 3 in B block because Kenny is undefeated so far. And I think someone had commented, I think on the Reddit somewhere, that it really comes down to their next match or to the next night because, of course, Naito and Ibushi face off, and Kenny and Ishii face off. And I think a big telling thing is who will probably win the G1 comes down to the Kenny and Ishii match, because I think if Ishii wins, of course, very much looking forward to that match. Please go seek that out whenever it airs, because it's going to be insane. Those guys always put on classics when they have singles matches, so this is probably going to be no different. Because I believe if Ishii wins, he'll take the title shot in the fall, and usually, they try to set up these matches with stablemates having like title shots or briefcase shots or whatever in advance of a big title match, or like especially like a Wrestle Kingdom. And I think if Ishii wins, him being a Chaos member and getting a title shot, it probably leans towards Okada winning the whole G1. But we'll see. I mean, he's still got Ishii. Kenny's got Ishii, he's got Yano, and he's got Ibushi. But yeah, Naito needs someone to win. He needs essentially, at this point, I think he needs to beat Ibushi, and then he needs Kenny to lose 2 of his next 3. Preferably, I think you preferably lose to like Ishii and Ibushi, because then he would hold the tiebreaker over Ibushi, points wise, for him to still get it. And then I think Ibushi still has a chance. I think if he beats Naito, he beats whoever he's facing on the 7th night or the 8th night of action, and then beats Kenny. I think if he wins his next 3 and gets to 14, and Kenny loses 2 of his next 3, or it loses one of the next 2, either to Ishii or Yano, and then Ibushi beats him on the final night, he'll make the final. But I think if it comes down to if Kenny wins the next 2, he's in no matter what. So he won't win one of the next, or both of the next 2, because unless he's going undefeated. That's the only thing. I think now the 2 most likely winners of the tournament are either going to be Okada or Omega. I just don't see it in any other way. They could. I think the Okada redemption story is there. And if you want to have an Okada Kenny Omega 5 at the Tokyo Dome, You do it that way, or and actually have, it would be a rematch back in the building they started the Magic. They started the original series in. Or you have Kenny make history, go through the block undefeated. He might not even have to win the G1, but I would assume he would. At that point, if he's undefeated, he'd win the G1 and pick his opponent. It would be a little strange. I mean, they'd probably have to do something for a title match in the fall, because you can't. It's hard to do it. I just don't imagine what the King of Pro Wrestling schedule would look like with no heavyweight title match. So I just imagine that he has to lose at some point in the next 3 matches. Whether it's just one of them and still makes the finals, that could be a situation where, he loses but he still makes the finals, and then loses in the final, and then he has a title match in the fall and a title match at Wrestle Kingdom. But it's just going to be... He has to lose 2 of his next 3. And, of course, I don't see him losing to Yano, but holy shit, he might. The guy's got 1 win. Or Yano's got... he's 1-5 right now. And they had a great match last year. It's very possible they could have... The only thing is because Kenny's the heavyweight champion. If he wasn't the heavyweight champion, there'd be a much higher probability that he'd lose to Yano. But the way they do things in New Japan, I just don't see it happening. But, of course, the field's shaping out now. There's 5 left in A block, 3 left here in B block. It's coming down to the wire, and it's so entertaining to see. But that's it for the video. So thank you so much. If you made it to this point, please share and subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate all the support, all the comments people leave. I love discussing theories with people. It adds to why I love New Japan so much. But again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video for Day 13 review.